Yo, Thought Warriors. What is up? Higher Learning is on. It is I, Van Lathan Jr.
And it's me, Rachel and Lindsay.
Rachel saw Barbie.
I saw Barbie.
Rachel review.
It was good. I think, here's the thing. I came in after everybody's already seen it, so I don't know what I was expecting. But I thought it was good. It wasn't as amazing as you described it as like, did you say it was like the best movie you've seen? What did you say?
I said it was the best theater experience I had since Avengers Endgame. Everybody was laughing.
Okay.
I was having a great time. I was feeling. I was
You were
into
feeling.
the movie. So I liked it.
I love the message. I love the Barbie world versus the real world. I love that whole concept. I loved Ryan Gosling in it. I thought it was so good. I loved the Barbies, like the various Barbies that I saw. But it was a good movie. I wasn't blown away by the movie in general, but I love the message of the movie. The message blew me away.
The message blew you away, but not the movie itself.
I think I read too much about the movie, and then, doing the rounds on TV last week, everybody wants to talk about Barbie. So I was talking about a movie I had not seen. So I'm researching, America's Speech. I'm looking at the reviews. And so it's like, I think I should have seen it before all of that.
I think you hate women.
Okay, then I would hate the message.
Well, it's not, the message is one thing.
Yeah, get it right.
The message is one thing. But I get criticized a lot on this podcast for my takes towards women. I don't think that yours have been
if this is the example I don't think
that yours have been appropriately examined for your overall allegiance to women's freedoms and the freedoms of their bodies and their movements.
And this is why they don't do this. Because if this is the hill that you're going to die on, and this is the example you want to use, you're failing.
Barbie
you got to
great.
come better than this. It was good.
Donnie, have you seen Barbie?
I did. I loved it.
What did you think?
It was hilarious. We did a double feature. We watched Barbie, went for lunch, then saw Oppenheimer.
I don't know how y'all do that.
Why?
Yeah.
Because
I'm never going to go see Oppenheimer in the theater.
Why
I'll
not?
tell you right now. I'm not sitting for 3.5 hours. I'm just not.
to watch the movie?
I'm not.
Yeah.
I can't do it. I my attention span's not that great.
To watch the 3-hour movie? I mean, I know a lot of people like that.
I'm good. I need breaks.
You need breaks in a movie.
A 3.5-hour movie.
A 3.5-hour movie. So
I don't know if
what's the longest movie that you like?
I don't know.
Do you ever see?
Maybe Legends of the Fall.
That's pretty long. I don't know if it's that long.
Is Last of the Mohicans long?
That's
I love
long.
that. I
Like,
love
Last of the Mohicans.
of the Mohicans.
How the fuck you gonna stay? Last of the Mohicans is a tough watch. That's a great movie, but that's more of a tough watch than Oppenheimer is.
I loved.
But it's also a very
Native-
beautiful movie, though.
It's-
Last of the Mohicans.
So good.
It's like looks beautiful. Legends of the Fall looks beautiful too. Maybe Rach is a more aesthetic
Maybe.
movie goer. You know what I mean? Like you like, because those movies are very grand in their shots and the lyricalness
and the music,
of the natures and stuff.
yeah. Like coupled with the music and the acting, it moves me.
Last of the Mohicans isn't that long. It's 112 minutes.
Okay, well, see,
It's not that long.
what's the longest movie?
Like X. You ever see X? Malcolm X? Denzel Washington. That's long.
But I feel like I watched it in pieces. You know what I mean? Like I didn't see it when it came out. I wasn't allowed to watch all that.
Wait. Hold on. Hold on for a second. I get that the judge wouldn't allow you guys to watch films that had a lot of sex and violence and all of that stuff.
Couldn't watch R.
Okay. The judge wouldn't allow you guys to watch a movie about the life of Malcolm X.
It wasn't the Who. It was the rating.
We got to get the judge on here. I think that's wackaroni. Like, you can't watch a movie about the life of Malcolm X.
I couldn't watch rated R movies. Use the judge. Talk to the judge. Here we go. Titanic.
Would the judge have allowed you to watch The Passion of the Christ?
I was 17 when that came out.
Don't matter. Would the judge, at the time, let's say The Passion of the Christ came out when you were
No,
13.
no,
You couldn't watch The Passion of the Christ.
no.
Interesting,
No.
man. Okay, so you were saying though. Go ahead.
Titanic.
Titanic.
Okay, Donnie said X was PG-13. I wasn't 13 when it came out.
So X is not even R.
I couldn't see. I couldn't see those. I had to sneak to see it. I couldn't see 13 until I was 13. PG-13.
So X, you couldn't watch a movie about the life of Malcolm X. I mean, look, do you know there's so many places I could go?
No exceptions were made.
But it was PG-13.
But I know you want to go places because of who it is, but it didn't matter. I could not see any movie that I wasn't allowed to. I could have, snuck around to see it, but I could not see any movie.
So the judge didn't want you to see the movie, and you...
It's not specific to Malcolm X. I know how you want to make it.
But there should have been an exception for Malcolm X. Does the judge like Malcolm X? Is he a fan of his works? Or is he like that nigger troublemaker? Like...
No.
Yeah.
No to your nigger troublemaker.
Nigger. Hold on for a second.
Not no to Malcolm X.
Bro, I got
no
to
to
nigger. Shout, bro. Nigger is funny. Let me tell you why.
No, nigger's hilarious.
Because they do Negro and then they do nigger, but in the middle, there's nigger. And they say nigger. Hold on for a second. Hold
Nigger's
on.
hilarious.
Nigger is hilarious. I always
will agree.
Nigger has always been funny to me. Negro troublemaker. I'm putting that up. Anyway, okay, so you couldn't watch that. You did. You couldn't watch that. So what other movies are long?
Titanic. That's the one that probably the longest that I've seen. Gone with the Wind too, but there's no way I sat through that whole movie.
Yeah, who's gonna watch Gone with the Wind like that? I've seen it, but
You've seen it, but in pieces.
Yeah.
But Titanic, I sat through and watched the whole thing. I didn't even realize it was a 3-hour movie. Over 3 hour. The Green Mile's over 3 hours.
Have you seen Malcolm X?
Yeah, I've seen Malcolm X.
When did you watch it? Is that one of the movies that you like?
College.
Okay, so you watched it and
I saw a lot of black. That's when I got back into my. Because
go ahead.
So I couldn't watch rated R movies until I was 17.
Mm-hmm.
So when I went to college, it was like, oh, now I can watch all these movies. I wanted to start with black movies because there were so many that I couldn't see.
You know that
there were shows I couldn't watch too, a lot.
Do you know that Emmanuel Acho said that he didn't realize that he was black until he got to college?
That's not me.
I'm just asking.
No, I said I could not watch movies. And what first movies did I want to watch? Black movies. I didn't say I didn't feel black because I couldn't watch movies or whatever he said.
So you got to college and it was like, I'm having a Rachel Lindsay Film Fest tonight. First up, first of all, we're going to do TV first. We're going to do Living Single. And then after we do Living Single, we moving on. We're going to do X, Harlem Nights. And we just gonna catch up.
I could watch
Friday.
Living Single.
When did you see Friday?
Didn't Friday come out probably when I was 17?
Friday came out in 95, I think.
Oh, I feel like I saw that fairly
So your dad
soon.
let you watch Friday?
No, I didn't watch Friday. I'm just saying it was one of the movies I watched quickly when I was of age. I was a really good kid. So I whatever the judge said, I did.
Oh, I fuck with the judge. I'm teasing you, but
no, I know.
I fuck with the judge though because
I was like scared of the wrath of God
because you was gonna watch that shit and the judge was gonna know. The judge was gonna say something. The judge was gonna be like,
I was really.
You've been watching them low bottom. You've been watching them low bottom nigga movies, huh?
I was really scared.
Like I remember that nigga trash
when my parents found. Gosh, what year it was like Puff Daddy and the Family. It was. What else did they find? My sister's CDs. I remember them throwing them out. What else came on around that time? I just see they hid them. But they hid them in the closet.
Oh,
they took them and they hid them, and I found them. I remember that.
Puff Daddy and the Family. His dad's like, get this devil music out of here. Puffing in the daddying. The only dad is Jesus. That's my father.
I was scared.
Puff Daddy and the Family. That's No Way Out. That album is crazy good, bro. Is this the end? Is this the end? Puff Daddy and the Family musical group.
Yeah, that's the CD. I remember the cover.
I love
that 100% was.
No Way Out was crazy.
I said, oh my gosh, Constance got in trouble.
She got in trouble because of Puff Daddy and the Family.
she was. It was an explicit CD.
Explicit CDs. So all the CDs that were explicit, you couldn't listen to them either. So no Tupac, no nothing. But you're also a lot younger than me. So a lot of that stuff, by the time you became of age in the in the 2000s.
In the 2000s. But I remember my sister taking me to the CD store and trading in my country CDs.
Wait, he let you listen to that? Oh, but it didn't have the parental advisory sticker on it.
No. But I remember distinctly going in, and I was of it. So she must have been sneaking behind my parents' back to do it. Took me and I like traded in my country CDs for, it was a Hot Boys, Guerrilla Warfare.
That's what I'm talking about.
I got...
Grow you right up.
The Blueprint.
Mm-hmm.
And I got something else. I can't remember.
You know that story?
So I know every song on those because I listened to them. That's all I had over and over again.
There's a show on Amazon. It's called The Year I Turned Pretty. We're going to do a show about you called The Year I Turned Black. We're going to do it. What?
Because that implies I was not black before. Blacks,
you got blacker.
Call it The Year I Found the Culture.
How about this?
The year I found the culture.
The year I became a nigga.
Nigger.
Say, bro. You watch all of these old movies, niggers. The niggers. Nigger is somehow worse.
It's so funny.
Have y'all heard nigger? In the Chloe, have you heard nigger? You never heard nigger before? Have y'all heard nigger in the room? Chloe, jump on.
I've never heard that. That's first
You've
time.
never heard Nigra?
You never heard nigger? Chloe, say nigger.
Nigra.
Donnie, you ever heard nigger before?
Yeah, but not in like real life. On movies.
Only on
and
movies
TV,
and stuff, right? Nigger. I can't even find like it.
I'm looking at it
Nigger. So you got nigger, black people, and then it goes to different types of stuff. So you saw Barbie. We're gonna talk about the boxing match that happened this weekend. Tough stuff. Tough.
It really was.
Tough stuff for Dallas. But before we dispense with the pleasantries and get into the show, we have a great show today. We have Juel Taylor, the writer and director of They Clone Tyrone, a movie that we both loved, coming on the show a little bit later. We're going to ask him a lot of questions, including, it's going to flip it. What if They Clone Tyrone was all white? What if They Clone Travis was the movie? Who would he cast? It's a good answer for that. There was a really disturbing and sad trio of lives lost here recently. First, a singer and a very important voice of social protest and change, Sinead O'Connor, passed away at age 56. I was a kid. I was actually watching live on Saturday Night Live when Sinead O'Connor ripped the picture of the Pope. I didn't know what was going on.
Sure.
But, I was up watching Saturday Night Live. I had known her. And that was one of the first times in my young life that I saw a firestorm around like one specific thing that someone had done. And I realized that there were things that you could do or people that you could call out or criticize to where it would really negatively affect your career because she was everywhere at one point and then she was nowhere after that. Not that she went anywhere, but as far as her presence in pop music and pop culture, it was significantly affected by the stand that she took. And later on, she took stands in many different things. She converted to Islam and talked extensively about what's going on in Palestine. She never hesitated to use her voice. That was very sad. And then this morning, back to back, two shocking deaths. One, Paul Rubens, Pee Wee Herman, who was a staple in my youth. It's not just from the show, but from Big Top Pee Wee, from Pee Wee's Big Adventure, and just, all over the place. The guy was almost omnipresent in my youth, a fantastic performer. The Pee Wee Herman character, like almost is one of those things that like signifies youth for me, in a way. He passed away, and I think something right now that the younger people and a lot of fans are reeling from is Angus, who's from Euphoria. He passed away today.
Yeah.
And it is absolutely shocking, like really destructive to a lot of kids of that age that watch that show, or just people that are fans of the show. Angus Cloud, having passed away, cause of death still not understood. The other two people that we've talked about, we lost them, I think, to cancer. But Angus is only 25 years old, and I know that's somebody that you've met and talked with before.
Sinead O'Connor was to cancer?
I'm pretty sure it was.
Oh. Yeah, no, first I'll start with Sinead O'Connor. It's interesting you talk about watching that on Saturday Night Live and what that did to her popularity, and not popularity, but maybe more so the perception of her. And a lot of people were talking about how, because one of the things she's been outspoken on too is mental health and her struggles. And really,
let me jump in. It doesn't seem like it was the cancer. It's saying that there's been no cause of death indicated. I don't know where I got that from. I apologize.
It's okay.
Yeah.
But one of the things she's talked about a lot is about mental health and her struggles. She's been vocal on social. She's been vocal in interviews. We know that she was struggling. It had been a year, just a little over a year to the date, her passing from her son's passing, who was she was very close with. And in reference to that Saturday Night Live performance, a lot of people have discussed that if that had happened today, it would have been perceived totally different than it would have today. And it just shows where we've come in a society in regards to, mental health, or, calling out certain systems or powers that be. But, I just want to touch on with her that she was, for a lot of people, a voice towards mental health and struggles, and normalizing speaking out about that, in addition to her many talents. Pee Wee Herman, this won't shock anyone, I'm not as familiar with. Obviously, I know who he is because he's iconic, but I never really watched anything with Pee Wee Herman as a kid. But I know he meant a lot to a lot of people and shaped a lot of people's childhoods. Angus, I walked in and you were telling me, right as I walked in to start this podcast, you were telling me that Angus passed away. 25. That is, like you said, devastating for a whole generation, just in general. Just somebody so young lost their life. We don't know the story behind it. It doesn't matter. It's just such a tragedy. But yeah, I have been around Angus at a concert. We were like all together, and he was so nice, so warm, so disarming, so just like, he didn't know me from anyone, engaging in conversation, asking questions. We had like such a good time. And I remember I walked away like, you're such a star, but you don't present yourself in that way at all. Just like a normal person enjoying the show like we all were. And, I took pictures and everything. Just like from that brief encounter or that moment, that evening, he was just a really, really nice guy. And my heart goes out to everyone who's impacted by these losses. And, we're thinking of you guys. And I don't know what is happening. I know somebody who has lost their grandmother. I know somebody who just lost their mom. I know somebody who just lost their dad. I'm talking like all in the last 72 hours. I don't know what is happening, but for anybody else who's lost someone who we didn't name, I don't know what's happening right now, but I'm thinking of you, and stay strong. There's a lot of death going on right now.
It's tough. Everybody take breaks. I know specifically with a lot of the youth who really, really have connected with Euphoria, that this was a beloved character and a beloved actor. So, I just want everyone to take breaks. I know that grief is an unstoppable monster, and it doesn't really get easier. So, at least that's been my experience. So just everyone kind of let yourself feel, but make sure that you don't internalize every single thing that's happening all at once, because then you can overwhelm yourself. And look, of all of the people that we talked about, particularly Paul Rubens and Sinead O'Connor, they lived lives where they weren't without controversy. So I think Pee Wee was the fucking man, but Sinead was very political. So I'm sure there are going to be people out there that have things to say that aren't as glowing, should I say, as what we just did. But I thought Sinead O'Connor was a fantastic talent. And from my childhood, she represented somebody who exemplified going against the grain and using your voice for things that are central to who you are. So rest in peace to all three of those people. We are going to get into the show now. We're going to have Juel Taylor later on. They Clone Tyrone is the movie. You like that movie?
I loved it.
I want you to rank the three. Well, you can't rank them because you didn't see Oppenheimer.
Well, I'll do 1 and 2. They Clone Tyrone by a landslide.
By a landslide.
And Barbie.
Barbie 2. Give Barbie a grade.
An A minus.
You give it an A minus. So give it an A minus. So you loved it.
I really did like the movie.
You just didn't think it was fantastic.
I don't know what I was, I just expected to be blown away. That's the problem when the expectations are so high.
That's why you gotta go see the movie first week.
You know what? You're right.
Yeah, gotta go see the movie first week. You gotta see the movie.
But They Clone Tyrone, A+.
Fantastic. Okay. Trump superseding indictment on the other side of this. You know, I've been watching a lot of stuff about Ron DeSantis. I'm a DeSantis head.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, he's very funny.
Is he funny to you?
Yeah.
Funnier than Trump?
No, he's not funny in a ha-ha way. He's funny in a, damn. You know what I'm saying? Like, I watched Ron DeSantis with Megyn Kelly. Did you see this exchange?
I did not watch the interview.
So Megyn Kelly is on DeSantis' ass.
Yes, I saw that she was doing this.
You know what I mean? And I just thought they're kicking his ass.
And he doesn't get it.
It's hilarious though.
But he doesn't get it.
Well,
I don't think he gets it.
He tries to do his thing, but it's very funny.
Yeah.
It's very funny to me. And I think he's the guy right now in second. And I'm like, things are getting increasingly more precarious on the right. He's the guy in second who everybody is flaying him wherever he goes, whether it's a home game or away game. Donald Trump is facing additional charges in the Mar-a-Lago documents case. So federal indictment was filed in the Southern District of Florida, alleges that Trump was part of a scheme to delete security video. And there is a newly charged defendant here who was identified as a property manager at Mar-a-Lago. Told another employee that the boss wanted the server deleted. That employee is Carlos de Oliveira, who was a maintenance supervisor at Mar-a-Lago. He was charged on Thursday. The indictment lays out what federal authorities say was an obstruction scheme. Trump was very focused on not allowing officials to get their hands on his boxes. So this is after the government has asked for these boxes. This is after they know that Trump knows that the government wants these boxes back. And it's not just slow rolling the government and deciding which boxes to send back and which boxes to not send back. This is alleging that Trump ordered people around Mar-a-Lago to destroy different shit and do all kinds of different shit, delete security video, and obstruct justice. This is a new person indicted here, Carlos de Oliveira.
Yeah.
So that's just another person that the government could potentially flip.
No, it's not a matter of if, it's when.
Oh, you think this guy's going to flip for sure?
Why? So this guy's going to go to jail for all these years for Trump.
How many years is he looking at?
I don't know.
Okay.
Double digits.
Right.
For Trump, I just don't see that happening. This is like a save yourself situation at this point. And I think that's the exact tactic that the prosecution is going to bank on. And that's why, that's not why. I mean, it's because he did something illegal, but that's exactly what their plan of action is going to be. You don't think so? You think they're going to have a tough time maybe?
It depends on how far this guy's in the Trump world. I mean, I expected Walt Nada to at least consider flipping, and it doesn't seem like that's going to happen. I know that guy is a lot closer to Trump. This gentleman right here looks like he was just a maintenance supervisor at Mar-a-Lago, but I have to wonder if gentlemen like this are scared. if people are afraid at this particular point to flip on Trump because, I mean, it hasn't really, Trump has made political enemies in the past, Michael Cohen, whomever, and it hasn't been that bad for those people.
Mm-hmm.
But I do feel like the level of crazy has been ratcheted up to a point to where some of these people, I mean, the president out and out, the former president out and out threatens people. He threatens Jack Smith. He threatens the country. He says, if I'm indicted, or excuse me, not if I'm indicted, if I'm convicted, then there are going to be a lot of angry people out there that are going to do a lot of, crazy things. He makes vague threats all the time. So I wonder if people like this are afraid to testify against Donald Trump. So,
Well, it's like, what do you fear more? Years and years in prison?
Mm-hmm.
And what do you expect? That Trump's going to be there when you get out?
Yeah.
He's going to take care of you? He's going to take care of your family? Or do you fear Trump? That's what it's going to come down to, because he potentially, I mean, they've got him literally hiding the stuff. I think he stands to go away for a really long time if he's convicted of this.
Yeah. Obstruction, all that kind of crap.
So I see him talking. I really see him talking. I really see him saving himself at this point.
So that's a little bit more trouble for Donald Trump. There's stuff going on in Georgia.
Can I ask you this?
What's up?
So it seems like every day it's like another day, another Trump indictment. Trump. Breaking news, Trump's going to be indicted. Oh, they've sent a letter to Trump and the indictment might come this week. There's either an actual indictment, there's a threat of the indictment, there's a new charge, there's a superseding indictment. Like it always just seems to be something. Do you think that the indictments are losing their impact? Do you think they're making an impact at all? Do you think that people are taking it less serious? Do you think this is adding to the whole, well, they're just looking for anything? I'm not saying that there's obviously probable cause to be charging Trump in each case, but do you think that it's just becoming so much that it's playing into the whole Republican theory or that side of the Republicans where they're just looking for anything to throw at Trump? Do you feel like it's becoming less effective?
So,
sorry, that was a lot of questions that I threw there, but you get me.
It's cool. So the most important answer to that question for me is that it doesn't matter.
In the grand scheme of things.
Well, it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things because I personally don't think that the goal of indicting Donald Trump should be to affect a political election, right? Or to sully his reputation. So whether or not the indictments are losing their effect or not, I mean, I think the purpose of the indictment is to bring Donald Trump to justice for things that he might have done that are illegal. So that should be the effect. If there's a political effect that comes secondarily to that, then that just kind of is what it is. You can't not indict Donald Trump because you think it's going to affect his political chances, and you shouldn't be indicting Donald Trump because you think it's going to affect his political chances. So as far as whether or not people still care, what I think is there is a sliver of people that are going to be swayed by how electable they think Donald Trump is when they decide to vote. So there's the diehard Donald Trump people, right, that are going to vote for him even if he's caught having sex with an underage UFO. You know what I mean? Underage alien. They're those people right there, you can't change them. He's the second coming of Christ. But there are people to me that are maybe less dedicated to that or sort of less religious about who Donald Trump is that I think are affected by how much smoke is around him. And those are the people that can kind of turn the election. The question is, do they have a viable second candidate? And the more DeSantis shits the bed and the smaller the pie is for everyone else, meaning there's so many people right now in the Republican field that there's not a lot of opportunity for there to be another real threat at this point besides Trump. I mean, Vivek is in third, I think, right now. And, you have Tim Scott and Nikki Haley and Larry Elder and the rest of these people that are and not even in shouting distance of it. And this is all before any debates,
Right.
before any primaries. There's a ways left to go to get here. But I think the fact that Trump is the only viable candidate might make some people stick by him that maybe didn't before.
Yeah.
But I do not think that Donald Trump is electable in a general election in any way, shape, or form. And I don't think that Ron DeSantis is either. I personally cannot see how a party that is normally so good at clear messaging, clear oppo tactics, and a direct line to their constituency is fucking up on a national scale this badly.
I just think they've just gone too far. I really think that that's what it is. Because, there's an argument to be made that DeSantis had it in the bag, but then he positioned himself on the far right side, the other side of Trump. And I think that they've just gone to a point of no return where they're even splitting their party. That's what's happening. You talk about clear messaging and them being on the same page. They had that. But now you have a sector of them that are just going so far that the other side can't even, not that it made sense or was logical all the time anyway, but it's too much to where they can't even, I'll just use the slavery. You have even Tim Scott.
Not just Tim Scott, Byron Donalds.
Yes.
The whole.
Yes. So you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's going too far where it's like, listen, we can't even agree with you on that.
You know what? You know what Ron DeSantis really did? Ron DeSantis has all of his black Republicans in the room. And the slavery thing was like him saying the N-word. He thought that he was that cool with them, that there was just no level that he could go to where they wouldn't be like, hi, bro, chill. That's always the problem sometimes when you got the cool white boy in the room with you or the white boy that's a part of the clique in the room. Is like
They always go too far.
They always go too far. And with DeSantis, he had done a lot of shit. And they were kind of dealing with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? He had bought the FUBU shirt. He had done all of this other stuff. They were like, okay, that's fine, that's cool. And then slavery, saying that was cool, was tantamount to basically saying that these are my niggas.
Yeah.
Tim Scott and Byron Donald. Nigras. These are my nigras.
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting to see that those guys who have really not stood in the gap in any way. I mean, Kim Daniels was first. It was interesting to see that they all went, nah, that's too much.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's too much. And that was just a really important rebuke from them because it was the first time that I've seen those guys who don't deserve any credit for this.
Yeah.
It was the first time
bare minimum.
I've seen them kind of stand up to the rhetoric of the far right. So there is a limit and a level that it seems like they won't go to. Now it's
Or is it because it was DeSantis?
That's the question.
Yes.
Had Donald Trump.
Exactly. I do not think so.
You don't?
Not from Tim.
So you think that if Donald Trump...
Because Donald has said something before in relation to black people, and I cannot think of what it was, and Tim Scott didn't take a hard stance like he did with the benefits of slavery.
Let's stay on the benefits of slavery thing.
Okay.
Tim Scott, Byron Donalds, these guys are guys who I feel like have Trump's running mate in their imagination. I think these guys want to run with Donald Trump.
Oh, Byron too?
Yes, for sure.
Okay.
I think these guys want to run with Donald Trump. And so, it doesn't really do a lot to them politically to come out against Ron DeSantis. I think it actually probably helps them
if they want Trump, it does.
To curry favor with Trump. You're saying you think that had Trump done this whole benefits of slavery thing, because this is not just a statement, this is actually in the curriculum down there in Florida. So this is a material change. You feel like if Trump had done something like this, that these guys...
It's hard to say, because I haven't really seen Tim Scott do
push
that
back
yet.
Against Donald. He has. Tim Scott, I don't want to be... He has pushed back on Donald Trump with some stuff.
Like a little poke.
There's stuff that he's done that he hasn't...
But a lot, but you are seeing this with a lot of people, take out like a Will Hurd or a Chris Christie, but a lot of them have been afraid, they'll say, well, I would pardon Trump, if I was president, or, they're still backing Donald Trump. And it's hard to say that Tim Scott wouldn't do the same. I don't know what he would do, but the track record makes me feel like he would not have taken as hard of a stance because there still seems to be some fear when it comes to Donald Trump.
There is some breaking news surrounding the Hunter Biden probe.
Did they finally get the agreement together?
No, this is something else. There's a gentleman by the name of Devin Archer who told the House Oversight Committee on Monday that his former business partner, Hunter Biden, was selling the illusion of access to his father. This is according to a source familiar with the closed-door interview. He testified to them that this is part of the probe into Hunter Biden, that Hunter Biden, at least in part, intimated that access to Joe Biden was a part of some of his overseas dealings. There is also the assertion that at points that Joe Biden was on speakerphone during meetings that Hunter Biden was having with people and talking with them. Of course, if you know what's going on with Hunter Biden, the whole thing this was, of course, when Joe Biden was vice president, the whole thing about Hunter Biden's influence peddling is not necessarily Hunter Biden himself. It's like whether or not his father was involved in any of this stuff while he was the vice president, and whether or not Biden was using his power as the vice president to enrich his son or enrich businesses that are connected to the family. Devin Archer is a gentleman who has his own legal troubles. He was convicted of federal tax charges in 2018 as part of a conspiracy to defraud a Native American tribe. The conviction was overturned, reinstated, and appealed. He is expected to report to prison in the coming months to serve a 1-year sentence on that. So there's some thought here that he is trying to curry a little favor here, talking to people, but he was a business associate of Hunter Biden's who now, depending on who you listen to, because the reporting on this, I'm looking at CNN right now, and CNN is reporting that Hunter Biden was selling the illusion of access to his father. If you go to...
He was under the what?
That he was selling the illusion of access to his father. And if you go a little bit further to the right in the reporting, then what they're going to say is that this testimony is a smoking gun, and that the fact that Joe Biden might have in any way knew about the communications or been there at the communications is evidence of his direct knowledge to Hunter Biden's influence peddling. And that means that Joe Biden knew what was going on. And because he knew what was going on, that means that Joe Biden is somehow criminally responsible. And the end of the road here is impeachment. The end of the road here is trying to get enough on Biden where they can impeach him. Of course, people on the left here say that this is an incredible waste of time, that there is no reason to believe that Joe Biden is involved in this in any way. But other people think that this is the nail in the coffin. But this is a witness.
Have we not been here before?
I mean, look, I personally am not interested in anything other than the truth. James Comer, who is chairman of the House Oversight Committee, said that Archer's testimony reaffirms questions about Joe Biden's knowledge of his son's foreign business dealings and shows that the president was not being truthful in his previous denials. We should remember that when asked about this, Joe Biden has said, I knew nothing of what my son was doing. And that is an incredibly high standard, because that means if you knew anything, then you lied. So Comer says when Joe Biden was vice president of the United States, he joined Hunter Biden's dinners with his foreign business associates in person or by speakerphone over 20 times. And so the question is, what does know mean? Does knowing means that you know he did business? Did you know the way that he was doing business? What does it mean? So Archer's saying that he joined these business dinners and he was there in person or by speakerphone over 20 times. They think is a smoking gun. So that's so everyone knows. That's so we're not reporting on the trouble that Trump is in and not reporting on the fact that Joe Biden might be in and things that he might have done when he was vice president. We'll find out what's going on here at Higher Learning. We'll get to the bottom of this. But I will say this. I personally think, if I'm being real about this, that the right has an incredibly important task ahead of them.
Okay.
They have to nail Joe Biden's ass to the wall. Because if not, they are spending a hell of a lot of time not governing. They're spending a hell of a lot of time on this instead of doing the business of the American people.
Yeah.
And look, that's kind of indicative of the times that we live in, but it seems like they're more fixated on Hunter Biden than anything else. And at times, to be real with you, it seems like the left is more fixated on Donald Trump than anything else. And sometimes I ask the question, while both of these sides are pissing on each other, like, who's really thinking about the American people?
It's a great question to ask. Neither.
Neither?
I mean, the way you pose it right there, you're right. I mean, I could see the argument on both sides, but I don't know. I said it before. I'm so tired of
Hunter?
Hunter.
You're tired of Hunter?
I'm tired of Hunter.
Tired of his naked body?
I'm tired of Hunter. That's why I asked the question about the way people feel about constantly hearing about the Trump indictments. It's going to be an interesting 2024. It's going to be an interesting 2024.
I gotta be honest with you, I fuck with Hunter Biden.
Good for you. In what way?
I mean, look, what is Hunter Biden supposed to do? His dad's the vice president. He's trying to get money. Of course, you're going to be like, yo, my dad is the vice president. Everybody that has a problem.
There's no doubt that he did that.
Everybody that has a problem with Hunter Biden, man, y'all use y'all homie's name to get into the club.
And you should.
Y'all do all kinds of stuff,
and
bro.
You should.
I once saw the guy that fucking cut Kanye's hair, try to use that to get at girls at the den.
Why not?
You know what I mean? Like, no, not at the den, at the parlor. He's like, yeah, Kanye, one of my clients. I'm like, really? You're going to use the fact that you cut Kanye's hair?
Bet it's worked.
To try to fuck these girls?
Bet it's worked.
That's sad. That's sad on the part of the women.
Of course it is.
Do you think that there are women out there that would fuck the guy that cuts Kanye's hair?
I know them. Are you kidding me? Proximity is a real thing.
U.S. economy is doing well. It's gaining steam. Talking about Joe Biden here. Whether or not he knew about what Hunter Biden is doing is one thing. But the economy is growing at a 2.4% rate in the second quarter. Surprisingly strong showing that adds confidence to the idea that the nation might avoid a recession.
That's huge. If they go into recession before this election, I said I was exhausted about talking about Hunter Biden. That is exactly all we will be talking about. That's the worst thing that could happen for Biden and the Democrats going into 2024.
Inflation is slowing and unemployment sits at just 3.6%. Obviously all great news for President Biden that the economy is getting a little bit more robust. I do think that there is still a gap in these numbers and what they're showing in terms of the data and what people are actually feeling in their daily lives. But the math always comes first. And then, when the buying season in the fall comes, you'll be able to kind of see more in the fourth quarter and all of that stuff.
Yeah, some people are saying these numbers are,
Fugazi?
A little inflated. Like I was reading one thing that said, well, really, it's not that there have been 13 million jobs that were added. It's 2 million jobs, and the 11 million jobs were lost or kind of pushed to the side during the pandemic, and people just got those jobs back. New jobs.
You know what you can't deny, though?
What?
Progress. You can
from the pandemic?
Yeah,
sure.
You can look at different levels of progress and different rates of progress. But what you can't deny, though, is that the economy is righting itself, okay? And while people are pointing at other things that are going on with the Biden administration, and while I still have big issues with some of the things that were said that were going to happen, I have to say this in a real way. Biden's doing a good job.
So Bidenomics is working for you.
I don't know, Bidenomics, Reaganomics, nigganomics, whatever. Like
Well, they're not the same.
It's like
it ain't
I'm just saying,
Reaganomics.
it's not Reaganomics, but I'm just saying, like, I don't like, oh, this is how big my dick is. I'm the president of the economy. No, like, what I'm telling you is that it's fair to give credit to a robust economy or a growing economy to the administration that's in power. And looking at that, it's so funny watching Maria Bartiromo and the rest of these people report this stuff on Fox because it pains them to report it, that the country is actually doing well. And that's how polarized things is better. You're right, better. So look, CHIPS Act, a lot of things out there that infrastructure, put a lot of money back into American cities all over the place, all over the country, should I say. Things are not terrible. Things are getting a little bit better. And that's something that as Americans, we should be actually happy about. But depending on what side of the aisle you're on, people aren't that fucking like thrilled about it.
Well, people aren't also paying attention to it. It's getting lost in the hoopla of talking about all these other things. So it is important to bring it up that, you know, things are slowly moving in the right direction.
All right, let's talk about something that happened here. There's a gentleman named Jonathan Ventura. His username is Jonathan Does Comedy, and which makes me think that this video isn't real.
I thought that, but then I watched the video. It's like not towards anything else he does. It doesn't relate to any of his other content. Don't do that. Keep going. Because I sent this video to all my single girls.
Did you?
Yeah, I did. I sent it to everybody.
Okay, so apparently this gentleman was going on a first date and he got ghosted. All right, the date didn't show up. Donnie, run the audio here. This vulnerable young man.
So I just left the restaurant after waiting 30 minutes for a date to show up, and apparently I got stood up. I don't know what to say. Like, I'm trying to do everything right to be a gentleman. I brought flowers. I've been consistent talking with this girl for 2 weeks, trying to get to know what she likes, what she doesn't like. I made plans. I picked the restaurant, the day, and the time. You know, I've done everything to be just the kind of guy that would value somebody's time. Like, I'm just looking for my person. I'm just looking for the one that, I guess, is out there for me. I mean, I want to be somebody's husband someday, father. I'm trying to do everything that's right, and I just get stood up. Like, my feelings didn't even matter. Sitting there eating a meal by myself and realizing that nobody even cares about people anymore.
I don't want to do the topic.
Like, alien dating shouldn't even be this hard. It shouldn't be this hard to find somebody.
Advance one of them.
It shouldn't be this difficult to fall in love. To be kind to one another. Like, what? Ladies, tell me, what did I do wrong?
No, I don't want to cover it because he's talking to people like you.
Wait a second.
I sent this to all my single girlfriends.
Okay, wait a second.
In and out of state.
Wait a second. Okay. So I have some questions. First of all, why did you send this to all your girls in and out of state?
Because dating is really hard, right? It is tough right now, whether it's on the apps, whether it's in person. And I hear a lot of horror stories from my single girlfriend.
Horror stories?
Horror, just like the things that these dudes say to them. It's wild. It's just.
You hear a lot of horror stories.
Horror. Sorry.
Get
okay.
that second roar.
I thought that was obvious.
Because you said you probably got some horror stories from them too. Hey.
Proximity.
Mm-hmm.
Horror stories.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of friends who will talk to basically what he explained. I have a lot of girlfriends that go through that. They'll have these I can't have a serious conversation with you. I can't have a serious. This is real. I mean, dating is really hard. I was having this conversation with another girlfriend who is with someone recently. It's just about how it's a jungle out there. And Van, I'm gonna talk to y'all.
Well, I'm listening.
I'm gonna
to
talk
what
to
you're
y'all
saying,
because I can't have an honest conversation with this man right here. Listen. My girlfriends will say how they'll have conversations with guys, full out, back and forth. Guys will just disappear. Or they'll go on dates with the guys. The guys will just disappear. Or it's just so sad. They're putting themselves out there. They're really trying. They're throwing whatever lists they have away. They're putting whatever certain expectations they have. You know, they don't compromise on their morals and values, but they want to find their significant other. And they go through situations like this young man right here. And you, Van Lathan Jr., think it's funny.
First of all,
you think it's funny to laugh at the expense of the lonely.
First of all, no, I don't.
What do the lonely do?
Let's just be real. I've been lonely. And so I notice I do have questions, though.
Go ahead.
Okay. I have questions. I've been lonely. I empathize with this gentleman. I wonder why I post the video, which I do think is a comedy video. I do think he's supposed to.
If his name wasn't comedy, would you have thought it was a comedy video?
I think it's comedy.
But if that wasn't in his names,
okay.
Would you think that?
So he got there and the date never showed up.
Yeah. Now, my only question is he only waited 30 minutes. That's not a long time. That's what he said, I thought.
Well, he had to wait longer than that.
Because he said he ate a meal.
He ate the meal by himself. So my thing is, so your date doesn't show up and you go, I'm here, fucking I'm hungry.
I would do the same thing.
Would you now?
I would.
So
I got all dressed up.
To me, you either, because you can make lemons, right? You can make lemonade, which is eating a meal by yourself. Hey, I'm on a nice little, but you can't come out the restaurant with a full stomach and still be
and an empty heart.
You can't be
a full stomach and an empty heart.
At a certain point, you gotta charge it to the game. You can't have the full stomach and then still be upset like you about to cry.
What way are you empathizing with this man? He ate a whole meal by himself when he was supposed to be enjoying the company of somebody else.
He ate a meal by himself, right? He ate a meal by himself. Okay, he's by himself eating the meal. After he gets up from having eaten the fucking meal, he goes outside and he makes a video with a full stomach, the endorphins from the meal still happening. I think it's cap. I don't think it's real.
Have you never worked yourself up to a situation? Have you ever been like, chill, something happens and it doesn't go the way that you want and like you're good? And then you just keep thinking about it.
No.
And you keep thinking about it.
No.
This happens to me.
I know it happens to you.
I get angrier and angrier and I'm like, you know what? And that happens. This easily could have been
Let me tell you something. When I was going through my fat, lonely stage to where I was shit on by women, big time, okay? When I was going through that, if I got a meal, I was good. I go to the Bennigan's and I get
not Bennigan's.
I get the fucking loaded baked potato. I get the fries. I get the goddamn chicken tenders, and I get the brownie with the ice cream after that. You can't tell me shit. I don't believe this guy took himself on a date, which is what happened, and then went outside and just started crying because the date didn't show up. But there's nothing wrong with it. I wonder why people make these videos, though. I really do. Make these videos talking about this is this nigga trying to get some pussy.
Well, that could be
I'm just being for real. Like, this is that guy.
That's not the case.
This guy right now probably got a DMs full of women that are like.
Keke Palmer posted about it.
See what I'm saying?
No, but listen.
I just think I think this is emotionally a little bit manipulative by this dude.
No, people do this. We don't do this. Like I'm like you. I don't understand when people get on social media and they cry. I don't understand when people like pour out their hearts in that kind of way. But I mean, I've cried on social media before, but it was like over some like social injustice, something that I was frustrated about and speaking on. But I do think there's a sector of people on social media who do this. I have girlfriends who have shown themselves crying or reveal every little intimate detail about their life to their followers. They do this on YouTube. They do this on their stories. They do this in real, whatever it may be. That might be what he's doing here. But I don't know. This really spoke to me. My heart just, and maybe because I really, as of late, have been hearing these type of stories. So when he posted it, I was like,
I think this is cap. I don't think that this ever happened.
You're heartless.
I'll just be honest with you. First of all, I have definitely shown emotion on stuff. I cried on the Ringerverse one time. We were all talking about best moments, and it was a father and son moment, and I started to cry. I've gotten emotional. It's a true thing. I just don't believe that this guy, especially after he said he ate the meal, this guy took the time to order. He's like the waiter comes by, he's like, yo, I would like the steak, medium, fries, whatever. I get the whole thing. He eats the meal the whole time. He's probably looking at his phone while he's eating the meal. He leaves and then he goes, you know what? I'm going to tell the world about how I got stood up. First of all, I don't have enough faith in men to believe that this dude is that this really happened to him. First of all,
and that's his problem.
Is Jonathan does comedy, number one. And that video is hilarious. I don't care what y'all say. And then number two, I think that this is game. This guy is the sickest fucking pimp in the world, bro.
Stop.
This is game. I'm telling you this is game. I'm telling you this is game. In 2 weeks, when this nigga is at Andrew Tate's house, I don't want to hear nothing from nobody. This is game. Donnie, am I tripping?
No, I feel you on the food aspect of it. But I think adding to that, he might have had a few drinks that made him get into his feelings in a certain way. And like, I'm going to take this to the internets.
He probably did. He probably did. And he was probably sitting there eating that meal thinking, maybe she'll come. Maybe she's running a little bit late. Do you believe him, though?
I do. I don't think he's that good of an actor. I've watched some of his Instagram, some of his comedies, and it's funny. He's made me laugh a couple of times. I watched 2 bits and I laughed twice. But they also don't seem like this. This felt like super authentic.
Right. He says he's a down-to-earth guy with CP.
With CP?
Cerebral palsy.
Okay.
That's how he describes himself.
I see. Damn. That kind of changes things a
little bit. No,
bit.
Keep it. You are heartless. You are cold.
I'm not trying to be heartless and
I'm
cold.
sure he did get women that replied to him and slid in his DMs after this, but it goes with people saying it is hard to date in LA, and people want a specific kind of guy in LA. You know, that's why the barber who cuts so-and-so's hair can win over a down-to-earth guy.
Like Jonathan does comedy?
Like Jonathan does comedy. So what? Jonathan does comedy. So what?
I don't know, bro.
This wasn't even comedy.
It was funny, though. It's a lot of people supporting Jonathan does comedy right here. I want to know. I'm going to
follow him.
Which one of you women out there are going to. Which one of you women out there are going to take the challenge here? You know? Like, which one of you women are going to take the challenge here for Jonathan Does Comedy? I'm about to invite him onto the podcast.
No, I don't want you to embarrass me.
I'm going to embarrass you.
Okay, I just followed him.
Hold on. Can you come on our podcast? I gotta investigate this for myself. I just think if you eat the meal, I just feel like, damn, man, can you come on our podcast? We'd love to talk to you about what happened.
Calls himself the last dope human. And I believe you.
The last dope human?
That's what his bio says.
This fucking guy is self-centered as hell.
Oh, delete the message.
Nah.
Man.
Nah, I'm fucking with Jonathan. Look, let's bring Jonathan on. Let's bring Jonathan on. Okay, let's talk to Jonathan. And let's see, because maybe I'm wrong. I hope that I am wrong. But we'll see. I don't know. But if everybody is everybody who they say they are, then one of you women needs to step up and suck Jonathan's dick. Like, if somebody step up and make Jonathan feel good. This is what he deserves. Would you put one of your girls up to getting down with Jonathan? Who can we hook Jonathan up with?
Since you're single here?
At single here, since it's this big of a deal, Jonathan's a nice guy. He's got a comedian career. Who could you put Jonathan on with? Because I'm sick of this. I feel for somebody. Man, put the pussy where the mouth is. Like get like
So crude.
like get
both
get with
of
Jonathan.
us
Put
will
your pussy where your mouth
nominate a
is.
single. You nominate one as well.
There's nobody I know who's single who's gonna fuck with Jonathan.
I'm not even gonna ask you why.
I'm just gonna be honest with you. First of all, I don't know that many single women, but there's not a lot of single women that I know that's gonna fuck with Jonathan. It has nothing to do with like the single women that I know. I'll be honest with you, they don't respond to stuff like that. And I think that you're gonna see that a lot of your friends probably aren't gonna respond to Jonathan being that vulnerable. Y'all, the vulnerability was pulled out of me. I tried it.
So the single women you know don't want a vulnerable guy.
They're not gonna respond to vulnerability. They would rather
be single.
Nope. If that was Future who made that video.
Okay, well, we just dealing. It's a
I'm
different.
just saying.
They want a
It's in
different
LA.
type of- They
If
want
that
a
was
different,
Future,
and that's why he's
who
saying
made
this
that
is a
video.
problem because your single friends that you're describing only seem to want somebody with some type of fame or celebrity.
Not fame or celebrity.
Just said Future.
But
You named him for a reason.
That's not fame or celebrity. There's a different thing that Future has. It's a swaggy. It's Future has a lot of kids, and that has not stopped any of the ladies from giving Future a spin.
I do not think Future.
Okay, well, I mean, it's like whatever. But what I'm telling you is that, Jonathan in the situation that he is, showing the vulnerability like that, and
shame on all y'all,
and showing the whole situation.
Shame on all y'all.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'll need to see somebody step up.
I'm over that. I don't need a vulnerable man.
Do you know what? Do you know what I had to do in order to get back out there? I had to in a real way. I had to lose 120 pounds. I lost 120. Have I ever told you the Yahoo personal story?
Mm-mm.
This is in the book. This is the Yahoo personal story right here. This is when I realized that all of it's bullshit. Yahoo personal story. Because a lot of people could say, hey, Van, maybe you're not as charming as you think you are or whatever, and that was turning people off. First of all, I never not had girls. It was always like women that were interested. I never did. It's just facts. If you ask anybody, I had girlfriends.
I won't, but yes, I believe you.
But I had to work very, very, very hard at 370 pounds.
Sure.
I had to work very, very hard. I had no neck. You see Grimace? That was basically me.
Who's Grimace?
Grimace is fucking Ronald McDonald's friend.
Oh, that's what I thought, the McDonald character.
Right. So that was me.
Stop.
So I had to work very, very hard.
Girls love a funny guy, though.
Very funny.
Yeah, that goes a long way with women.
It worked after a while, but remember, we were also in college, so it was they weren't to the point to where even emotionally people understood what they wanted yet. Everybody had raging hormones and all of that stuff. And it's not that easy to kind of be the guy that I was. Truth. Okay, here's the deal. So I get out to LA. This is a true story. I get out to LA and I don't know anybody. So meeting women is even harder because you're not meeting girls that you're in class with. You're not going to the same parties and that you were going to in Louisiana. You can't get into anything when you're out here in Los Angeles, right? And so where do you meet people at? You know what I'm saying? And I wasn't having any luck meeting anyone. So I made a Yahoo Personals account, okay? This story is in the book. I made a Yahoo Personals account. And I put the Yahoo Personals account up and it was me. I took a shot that I thought I was about 350 at this point. I lost 20 pounds. I was coming down. I took a shot that I thought was very flattering. I put it up there. Yahoo Personals account, looking at it. I come back to it. Nothing. Funny writer, wrote a funny thing, whatever. My writing has taken me places that who I am has never, I am being Van on there. I'm checking the account. I'm doing that. Nothing. I'm in LA. Nothing's happening. I stop looking at the account. I get so fucking frustrated with any of it. I stop looking at the account. I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to be out here and I'm going to let stuff come to me. I'm going to let it come to me. I'm going to let things come to me. Going out with my friends, hanging out. Just forget about dating. Forget about women. Forget about that stuff. Put this stuff into you. So I lose weight. I take 6-7 months. I lose all the weight. Weight gone. And just for fun, after the weight was gone, I updated the Yahoo Personals account. I promise you, I took a shot of me holding an Oscar. If you read the book, is in there. You can see the picture. Shot of me holding an Oscar. I'm in great shape. Smile, whole nine, boom. I put that on the Yahoo Personals account. I'm not trying to act like I'm Chris Brown or anybody like that. The fucking Yahoo Personals account starts to blow up. I am not an unhandsome man. The personal, it starts to blow up. And you know what I learned from that? It's all bullshit. It's all horseshit. Everybody's attracted to the aesthetic. Sure, your personality matters, but that's after somebody gets to know you. And sometimes it takes a while to break down walls for people. If they are not automatically attracted to you, there's nothing wrong with it. Like, women started to reach out to me. Women started to get mad at me that I wasn't responding to them on the Yahoo Personals account. I remember one thing that was like, well, why do you even fucking have this if you never even look at it? It started to be a thing. And so when I see stuff like that, like empirical evidence, Fat Van put this up, maybe 5 or 6 people reach out. And I remember I reached out to one girl, and then when I reached out to her, then when she reached back, she was a prostitute. Which is, I'm not hating on her, but she was like, I was reaching, hey, how are you? Blah, blah, we're going back and forth. And she's like, yeah, kind of what I'm into, it says here that you're a producer. It's like, kind of what I'm into is like a cool, discreet, no strings attached relationship. And I was like, that sounds great. Like, yeah, we just hang out and see where it goes. She's like, yeah, things are tough around here. So I normally take a little bit of money for maintenance monthly. And I was like, oh, and I had been talking to this person for 3 or 4 days before they told me that, right? And so I didn't trip, didn't blame it on anyone. Hey, it's not the right time. When I changed that picture, my fortunes changed. So all I'm saying is, if you guys really feel bad for Jonathan Does Comedy when he made the video on the full belly, somebody gotta get this nigga a shot.
You're right, somebody does.
Because all of the other shit is just lip service. And yeah, I don't feel like people really mean it. Everybody
people
wants to.
Or LA?
When I was back in you have to understand. So I want to call any names, but there was a girl at Best Buy that I really liked.
Oh yeah, I think you told me about her.
Talked about this. A girl at Best Buy that I really liked. She ended up becoming my girlfriend.
Okay.
I had to wait for another nigga to get tired of fucking her before she became my girlfriend. I met her, we hang out, we watch movies, we do the whole thing. We hanging out, we watching movies. Look, I'm putting her on to new films. We're doing stuff.
You friend zoned yourself.
No, I didn't. I did not friend zone myself. I didn't friend zone myself at all. She knew very well what was going on.
Okay.
Yeah. So she knew very well what was going on. I remember when this dude came in for his interview. He walked in for his interview. I was like, that's going to be a problem. I remember I was like, that's going to be an issue. Like, that's going to be a problem. He walked in there, came in. He was working back in the warehouse. The nigga was like swole. He was a Kappa. I was like, God damn, that's going to be tough. And me, I'm not a hater. So I'm never going to salt you. I see you. It's the thing. I kind of see them talking. I'm not going to ever be emotional about it. I'm not going to be a hater. She disappears. 6 weeks. I knew he wasn't going to be on it. And so I played the shoulder to cry through situation back in there, and she becomes my girlfriend. I looked crazy to all my homies, but I had to be.
You played the long game.
I played the long game, right? And so what I'm saying is, all of this shit is cap. And then what happens to me, what happens?
I can't disagree with
what
you.
happens after a while is, after having a 20s of dealing with guys like that, people get to a point and they go, nobody loves me. And by of looking at a guy like, they get to a point and they go, nobody loves me. They go, I'm here and I've been doing, and nobody loves me. And it's just hard for me sometimes when I know how it goes.
Sure.
To feel a certain way. But for Jonathan, don't fucking say, oh, my bad. Give Jonathan a hand job. All right?
You're right.
You're right.
Take
Take Jonathan out buy him food. Don't post it, Keke Palmer. You're seemingly single right now. Go on a date with Jonathan. Like
We don't know if she's single. Though.
Well, she might not be, but your emotions aren't going to keep this man warm at night and keep him from getting stood up. All right.
That's true. Poor Jonathan. I hope he gives us an update about somebody else he's dating.
Do you want to see the picture that was the Yahoo Personals picture?
But why'd you have an Oscar with you?
It was a fake Oscar.
They don't know that.
It does because there's a wire hanging from the Oscar to the thing. It's like the Oscar experience in California. It's a fake Oscar. It's a situation. You got to see the picture because it was one of the best pictures of me, and it was a picture that I used for a long time. And it kind of put me on. Mm-hmm. I was on. Fuck what y'all niggas talking about, man.
Nobody's saying anything. You over here fighting yourself. Nobody said anything.
What happened in Vegas to Dallas? Talk about it.
What can I say? You did the interview. Well, Earl, listen. I knew it was going to be a good fight. Yeah. I thought it was going to be more 50-50. Obviously, I was going for Earl Spence Jr. I would have put money on it if I really had time and thought about it. This is a fight that was a long time coming. He made it happen, which Terrence Crawford gave him the credit for at the end of the match. But watching that fight, I was shocked. I mean, first round, I remember thinking I was like, he's really going after him. He's giving a lot of energy, but Earl looks good the first round. Mm-hmm. And I never said that again. Yeah. Never said it again. It's like he wasn't moving out of the way. He was leaving himself so exposed. And I'm not a boxing expert, obviously, but he just seemed to be leaving himself so exposed. Every single time he would throw a punch, it's like he was wide open. Like I said, he didn't seem to be weaving and bobbing. And nothing he hit really even affected Terrence. I told this to somebody, I was like, it didn't even look like Terrence broke a sweat.
It's tough. So
it did not.
It was a boxing fight. We had Errol Spence here on the show. Errol Spence said that he was going to punish Terrence Crawford. And look, that's how Errol Spence beats guys. He punishes them. Okay. The fight happened, and it was one of the most highly anticipated fights in the entire sport. Two welterweight undefeated champions for the unification of all the belts. And Terrence Crawford just smoked Errol Spence's boots. He just smoked him. It wasn't very competitive. It wasn't really competitive at all.
It's tough to watch. I was like, please call it. Please call it.
It was tough. And it was a bad weekend for Texas because Jamal Charlo, Charlo brother, one of the Charlo brothers, got the shit smacked out of him by Caleb Plant.
Why does stuff keep happening backstage like that?
Because it's going down. It's going down.
Did he sneak up on him?
No. Caleb Plant claims that Charlo, it's Jamel or Jamal? I feel like it's Jamal Charlo. Anyway.
Jamel
Charlo. He claims that he put his hand in his face. And then Caleb Plant, who's also a fighter, very good fighter, sprang into action like White Panther and slapped the dog shit out of Charlo, adjusting his hat on his head. Now look, it's not funny that happened.
Why you say it's bad for Texas?
Because Charlo's from fucking Houston.
Born in Louisiana.
So what?
Louisiana roots.
That's fine. He's
born in Lafayette.
So now you don't want him, is what you're saying.
Just saying. It was a bad day for the South, if that's what you want to say.
Bad day for
the latex community.
The guy is representing Houston. He's fighting out of Houston, Texas. The guy is fighting out of Houston. That's okay. Look, it's not that big of a deal. I love the Charlos. My thing is it's like watching the fight. It was a shocking end to what happened. We didn't get a chance to interview Bud Crawford, right? We did not get a chance to interview Bud Crawford. But we did talk to Errol Spence, who seemed very confident, who seemed like he was...
Sorry, it was Jamal.
In the zone, Jamal, yeah. very confident in the zone, and it just wasn't a fight at all. Everybody was there, and a ninth round stoppage or eighth round stoppage.
No, it wasn't.
It was a ninth round stoppage. Just Crawford looked like a fucking.
But it was the best he's looked. I haven't seen every Crawford fight, but it's the best I've ever seen him.
He looked unbeatable.
Yeah.
Like literally.
And the worst I've ever seen Earl.
He looked unbeatable. He looked stronger, faster, more determined, everything than Errol Spence. So Dallas, you took it on the chin crazy. If you're Errol Spence, what do you do? What do you do?
Well, he said on stage.
Stephen A. Smith says he should fucking retire.
Okay, Stephen A. Smith, chill out with the dramatics. He should not retire. This is the first time he's lost. First time he was even knocked down. But he said on stage that he wanted to do it again. Now, I don't know if he was all with us when he was on stage talking. But when he was interviewed, he said, I want to do this again, which it's up to him to do it. Mm-hmm. I think Crawford would be down to do it again as well. I think it would have just as much attention. But if the worst happens for him again, then it's time to start talking about all that other stuff. But right now, you go home, you regroup, you watch the tape, you learn from it, you get better. The question is he going to stay in that category? Because he said that he wasn't going to fight in that category anymore.
In the weight class.
Class, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. I told
Mojo
you.
Dojo Casa House.
You could.
So.
I was like, wait.
Mojo
Kingdom.
Mojo Dojo Casa House. See, anytime I explain something to Rachel like that, I'm just gonna catch myself and say Mojo Dojo Casa House.
Category, weight class. You know what I meant. I already said I'm not a boxing expert. Yeah. But the question is he going to stay in that weight class?
Well, there's a rematch clause in the contract.
And it's up to him.
So he could trigger a rematch clause. Mm-hmm. I do not think that Errol Spence.
I think he should.
You think he should rematch?
I think he should. He had one good round. He'll do better than that next time.
I don't know, man.
It almost was like he wasn't prepared to fight him at all. Like not physically in any kind of way, just like his Crawford's game plan. It was like Crawford knew everything Earl was going to do, and Earl knew nothing that he was going to do.
I don't know if he should. I don't know if he should. If they should fight again, man. I like it. At least not right away. You know what I mean? Like,
so who should Crawford fight next?
Who should Crawford fight next? That's an interesting question. So Crawford wants to fight one of the Charlo brothers, who is an undisputed champion at 154, which is the next weight class up from 147.
So Crawford's willing to go up.
Crawford wants to go up.
Okay, he wants to go up too.
So if he fights him, that Charlo brother has a fight with Canelo Alvarez next month. That's at 168. So that's 2 weight classes up from where he normally fights. He probably won't win that fight. If they don't break up his belts, based upon him taking the fight with Canelo Alvarez, then the fight with him and Crawford at 154 for all those belts is a pretty good fight. It's a big money fight for him. It would be 2 big money fights for him in a row. It just depends. It depends on whether or not he triggers that rematch clause. If he triggers that rematch clause, and they'll probably have to fight again in December. It also depends on whether or not they break these belts up. There's a guy named Tim Tszyu at 154 who is the mandatory for Charlo. So if they do strip him of one of the belts, he could get one of the belts. And then that's a different situation for Terrence Crawford, because if Terrence Crawford has to fight one guy to become undisputed at 154, which would make him a 3-time undisputed champ in 3 different weight classes, which was really historic stuff. That's one thing if he has to do it in 1 or 2 fights. But if he has to go around 154 collecting all of these belts that have been split up, that might be like a 2-year, maybe even a 3-year endeavor. And he's already 36. Or he's turning 36 pretty soon, so he may not have time. It's interesting. The worst thing for the economics of this fight was to have one of these guys get beat this bad. Because if the fight was close, then there's an automatic rematch, right? If it goes to the cards, or even if the fight is close back and forth and then somebody gets knocked out in the 10th or 11th or 12th in the championship rounds and they come back and they do it again. Mojo Dojo Casa House. But because I'm explaining all of this stuff.
I understand what you're saying.
Oh, Mojo Dojo Casa House again.
Okay. You don't think I do?
Okay, no. Even the fact that you had to ask that is another Mojo Dojo Casa House. Okay.
Oh
So no, it just depends. Cause like now they kind of fucked the money up a little bit. Cause you could have got 3 of these or at least 2 of these. But now a lot of the public doesn't want to see it again because it
was
looks
such a
like
bad
fucking
film.
he got his motherfucking ass kicked. Like not looks like he got his ass kicked. He got his fucking ass kicked terribly. Now, and by the way, fighters lose, bro. It's not that big of a deal. It's one loss. Errol Spence Jr. will be back. All right. It's a lot of mojo. Look, we have an interview with Juel Taylor of They Clone Tyrone coming up right now. You excited to talk to him about the movie?
I am, because of how much I enjoyed it.
You love that movie.
Mm-hmm.
You love it more than Barbie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. But on the other side of this break. Okay, so there's a movie right now that it's got my mind in a blender.
You and everybody else.
I'll be honest with you guys. The rage was Barbenheimer. Everyone was talking about Barbie and Oppenheimer. There was a film that came out that asked more central questions to my life, took me on a much more deep and winding ride of desperation, intrigue, and also humor. The name of that film is They Cloned Tyrone. Shout out to Charles King and everybody over there at Macro. But shout out to this man, the writer-director of They Cloned Tyrone, who joins us today on Higher Learning, Juel Taylor.
Oh, man, appreciate it. Thank y'all for having me.
Of course, brother. Thank you for joining us on Higher Learning. My man, what a fantastic movie.
Wow.
Black surrealism at its finest, Black humor at its finest, storytelling at its finest. What was the inspiration for the film? Man, it knocked my socks off, bro. I don't have any more socks. You guys knocked them off.
Oh, man, I appreciate that. That warmed my heart, man. That really warmed my heart right now. Yeah, honestly, it came from a couple places. You know, there's a plot kind of place it came from. Of us just wanted to make a bootleg Scooby-Doo movie. You know, just wanted to make something where a detective movie where the detectives were ill-equipped, but somehow uniquely equipped. And the other, just thinking about, friends that I had that had some very unfortunate things happen to them that were like way outside their control, and how it affected them, and subsequently how that affected me and my perception of, what they were going through. I had a friend who was depressed for a long time, but I didn't know it. And, when I finally sat down and really talked to him about it, I was like internally embarrassed, you know what I'm saying? That I didn't realize that he had been depressed for so long. And just thinking about like control in general and the idea of just blame versus responsibility, and, how privilege plays into that. And I think like somehow those two things kind of congealed into some weird planet of, this goofy Scooby-Doo movie with this very like wacky plot, but this, this thing that like really bothered me, like personally bothered me, and like I couldn't get it out of my head, this idea of like, is there a difference between blame and responsibility, and really feeling a level of discomfort about it, and I think because it made me uncomfortable, when I sat down, me and Tony would always talk about it. Yeah, we felt like there was something there because it made me so uncomfortable, So that's when we kind of started to explore it. And we always say like our ideas always start off as a gas cloud, and then they congeal into a planet eventually that has hopefully some semblance of coherence. Hopefully at the end it makes sense. But a lot of times it's a lot of disparate ideas that somehow coalesce into something that maybe makes sense.
Mm.
Maybe makes sense. So yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh no.
Can you dive a little bit more into when you talk about blame versus responsibility and how that created this idea, this concept, this movie? Because I find it really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at Fontaine, he's a character who, on the surface, has no culpability whatsoever. He's made in two. He's a few days old, and yet, so you could safely say that he is not to blame for where we find him in the movie when we find him. But and it's not a movie that like we didn't really set out to be didactic or try to provide any answers. It's just things that I was exploring thematically, and so that idea of him starting in a place where his memories aren't his own, his circumstances aren't his own, his home isn't his own, he has no mother, etc., etc. But when an inciting incident happens to him, seeing himself, now the responsibility is nonetheless put on him to like fix the situation, right? Like, despite the fact that he didn't put himself in this situation, I think like there's a level of unfairness to that, that and that's the thing that rhymed with people that I know back in Alabama, like in terms of like there's something like deeply unfair about it, but at the same time, the other side of the coin is like it is what it is. If somebody, puts Fontaine in this situation, they probably did it on purpose. And so they're clearly not going to help him get out of that situation. And so I think that's that push and pull of, a character relinquishing responsibility, and accepting responsibility is kind of what Fontaine is fighting throughout the movie, right? It's like it's up to these three people who are kind of classic, quote unquote, wrong side of the tracks kind of characters, who some may say are culpable for why their neighborhood is the way it is in the eyes of outsiders. And suddenly the responsibility to save the neighborhood is put on them, and so I don't have like a good answer personally. Like again, I think we go out our way not to be prescriptive about it. And so like, I think it's more like that's the heart of that question, how it's expressed through the plot.
Yeah, that was great. You definitely had an answer. That was great. That was great. I got it.
I saw something in the movie when Kiefer Sutherland showed up, right? You think that Kiefer Sutherland is the ultimate big bad of the film. But then he tells you, I'm not. I'm just the guy here in mall cop sort of middle management capacity, making sure that things go right. And when you get to not the ultimate big bad, but the person that's literally putting the liquid in the tubes, he's black. He's an older version of the clone that we have been following. He's an older version of who I like to call John Wick Fontaine. Like that's who he was. That's the John Wick Fontaine, right? Was there something to be said there about the fact that when you use the blame versus responsibility dynamic, that at a certain point, some of this stuff is maybe our own doing at this point?
I mean, I think there's a lot of ways to interpret that scene. I mean, like, I think, again, I try to stay away from, saying like, oh, we put ourselves in this situation specifically, but there's undoubtedly things that we inflict on ourselves that we probably don't need to. I think that more of having that conversation, right? Like you're taking a character who you're hopefully going on a journey of self-discovery, right? In a classic filmic premise. And if the real mystery of the movie is like, who am I, right? Like Fontaine isn't really trying to find out what happened. He's trying to find out who am I at the end of the day, right? Like this is a person who understands like the science fiction mechanics that just happened to him. So he knows he's just been Manchurian candidate. He knows, that there is a level of, there's a disparity between what he might have the internal impulses to do and like what they might have programmed. So, for example, you hear him listening to I'll Be Sure, he's listening to Blackbirds. Like there's small pieces of evidence that might suggest that certain things weren't programmed into him. There's this drift, like that may or may not be, evidence of the soul, if you want to say.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get to the end of the movie and you're having this conversation with yourself, I mean, I think a lot of it is like working on hopefully multiple levels where you could interpret it as like a Black community having a conversation with itself, and it's also this guy having a conversation with himself on just a existential level of like who he wants to be, who his identity is. Even though he comes from this person, he's literally that guy. So they're very different people. You know what I'm saying? And so I think it's definitely fair to say there's some level of meaning to be extracted by the guy he meets being quote unquote the man in the mirror. If you want to put it that way. But I hesitate to describe that meaning to somebody watching it, because somebody watching it might not get that. Like I think it's there if you're looking for it. But
you're doing your Donald Glover thing right now, where you go, "Hey, it's in the art. Juel Taylor, genius." Genius director Juel Taylor. I will not explain it to you. Whatever you think it is what it is. I know what you're doing, Juel.
I mean, but I do think it's true on a lot of levels. Because if I could tell you, like, oh man, this is that third, but if you watched it, you ain't get that. Then, like, who am I to tell you that you know?
There you go.
It truly is not mine. This is in the universe. Like, it really is like. It's to, whoever consumes it, whether they like it or they don't like it, right? Like it's still, someone who doesn't like it is just valid for not liking it, to be honest, right? Like if you don't like it, who about to tell you the reasons you don't like it aren't good reasons for not liking it? So it feels presumptuous like this, which is, I understand why Donald Glover and why Stanley Kubrick once upon a time, like I understand why they didn't explain things all the way, because I personally feel very presumptuous.
Mm-hmm.
Pinning it down to one specific thing, because I feel like so many people watch it and interpret it different than I might have interpreted it when we were writing.
Fried chicken, relaxers, grape juice, the church.
No.
Grape,
no drink, no juice. See, that's how you know where she's from.
Stop.
It's not grape juice.
Don't embarrass me in front of company.
It's not grape juice. It's all right. You said grape juice. It's grape drink. Those are two completely different things. All right.
Don't embarrass me.
Grape drink.
You knew what I was saying. You knew where I was coming from.
He looked at Sonny D and he said, "I want that purple stuff." Like
that purple stuff. Yeah, like Dave Chappelle. Give me that purple stuff. Yeah.
Excuse me. Grape drink.
Drink.
The church, relaxers, fried chicken. Why? Well, one, how did you land on these things to choose? And why did you choose these specific things as to associate like control with I guess these are staples within the Black culture, but to associate those with control? Like, why did you decide to use those? And was there any, I don't know, did you think you might get pushback in any kind of way from the Black community to play into those stereotypes, I guess?
Of course. I mean, like, we have people, when we test screen the movie. I mean, that the second you start talking in that parlance, there's going to be a level of discomfort, and that's cool. I think we had our test screening. There were people who were like, yeah, I understood it was satire, but I ain't like seeing it. It's like, which is fine, right? Like, it's who am I to tell you, that you should like something, you know what I'm saying? So I knew way before we ever shot it that there was plenty potential for there were pitfalls, so to speak.
Yeah.
There was banana peels on the floor to slip on. And I think, again, when it comes to like why, I think there's a couple of reasons that the film presents. Going back to the first image of like first thing you see in terms of how other people see you, right? Like you come out of these eyes and they're like observing you from a disaffected point of view. You know what I'm saying? I think like it's not just necessarily like control, but it's also like perception that I think is interesting to play with, right? Because like I'm from Alabama, and I do know people who don't want to eat chicken in front of white people, who don't want to eat watermelon in front of white people, and you understand why, you know what I'm saying? I think it's more just interrogating why that makes me feel uncomfortable, why those things make us feel uncomfortable, you know what I'm saying? And like, what is it about the inherent act of eating chicken, you know what I'm saying? If not removed from the concept of someone else watching. You see what I'm saying? Like
The
it's
inherent act of eating chicken. That's your next movie.
the
That's the title of
inherent
your next movie. The inherent act of eating chicken, they clone Tyrone too.
or why does this Popeyes taste so fucking good? Oh, I don't know if I can cuss, I'm sorry.
Oh, you
Nah,
can
you can
curse.
cuss. Yeah. We don't give a fuck.
Okay, I'm sorry. Or why is this Popeyes so fucking good? Yeah, I mean, I think like there's something interesting in the dynamic of seeing these things that are very personal to us. Like I love all the things depicted in the movie, right? So,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's not
Yeah, you look like a fried chicken eating nigga.
oh man, it's funny because I don't love fried chicken as much as baked chicken, but in the context of like macaroni and greens and like rice and gravy, it elevates. It's better than it is on my side. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like I don't go to like KFC and eat fried chicken, but like fried chicken in the context of a larger meal seems to like I'm more of a like baked chicken and right with like gravy and whatnot. But I think everything depicted in the movie is stuff that I grew up consuming. My sister, probably like my sister used products my sister used. So like the only thing I would say is like we didn't. The intention isn't necessarily to demonize what's being depicted, more to have fun with the discomfort of knowing that like white people are watching. Because I think if white people weren't watching the movie, this wouldn't even be a sore spot. If that makes sense. If we was by ourselves watching it, like there's nothing to feel embarrassed by. And I think there's something interesting about that. You know what I'm saying? Like the idea that like there's still some level of decorum that you want to show in front of white people.
It's weird after everything that's happened. You know what's interesting about the movie? And I was just thinking about this because I've watched the movie like 5 times, right?
Oh man, thank you for inflating them numbers, man.
Yeah, I watched it like 5 times.
No,
I told Steven, I told him, I told him, I was like, yeah, I've watched the movie like 5 times. I watched the movie a lot, Is between those 3 films, it was the single greatest movie weekend I've ever had for new films.
Oh man.
And you guys took the pole position. But I'll say this about the last time I watched the movie. I noticed something, Juel. Okay?
Okay.
I just gotta be real with you.
Okay.
I watched the movie, and the movie made me want to go listen to the soundtrack. Shout out to the song "Shiesty" by Trinidad James. Plays at the end of the film. I had to go hear that record. The needle drop was perfect, and the movie made me hungry for fried chicken. So Juel, in a way, if there was the perfect mind control movie that was out there, I'm just being real with you. The movie made me hungry for fried chicken, and it made me want to go listen to the soundtrack of They Clone Tyrone, which I have listened to. Drunk as fuck. All of these songs are great. The soundtrack is fantastic. It takes me back to my youth when the movie had a soundtrack that was actually part of the narrative of the film, which we don't see that much anymore. But you're not working for the cloners, are you, Juel?
Oh man, you know, I can't even joke like that. 'Cause somebody will be like, "Man, he told you. He's telling you." I want to like be like, you know what I'm saying? I want to lean into the market and shit, but the second you even joke like that, they're gonna be like, "Nah, but he would tell the truth, honey." You know?
Yeah, because somebody who was working for the cloners would definitely say that they weren't working for the cloners. So just be careful what you answer. I do have to ask you something though.
Not answer at all. You know what I'm saying? Like,
just don't answer. Don't say
no
nothing.
Right answer.
Right.
No comment is more damning than anything.
John Boyega in this movie. I am from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Rachel here is from Dallas, Texas. So we are all Southern brethren. Texas, kinda. Texas, sorta. I'm from the South. You're from the South. She's from Texas. Shout out to Texas.
Do you consider Texas the South?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely. I mean, I think
Thank you.
Texas is like 3 places, though, for real. It's like
it is.
That's not
like,
a lie. That's true.
The west side of Texas is like the West Coast. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't. I've driven across Texas. I've driven from Bama to LA and that. Like, you know,
it's whole fucking
different biomes in one state. You know,
the topography
Very
changes.
True.
You
Very
go
true.
like it's just total. You go from the bayou to the goddamn desert. It's different. John Boyega, not from the American South. Notoriously, this nigga is an Englishman, tea and crumpets.
He's notoriously British.
He's a British. He fell into this role so crazy. I mean, when I say 1,000,000% authentic, and I know he's a fantastic actor, but still though, even I was like, God damn, Fontaine, I know him. What made his performance, number one, so authentic in the role, and what made you guys see him as Fontaine in the first place?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, you know, like me and John had a lot of conversations about that in the beginning. You know what I'm saying? Like John is one of the coolest actors you'll ever meet. You know, because you can sit down with him and have like a straight up, honest conversation with him. And like, I was worried about the British to Southern translation, and we talked about it. You know what I'm saying? And I think like it was the fact that like I love him as an actor. Obviously, like I saw Attack the Block way back when. It was like,
great movie.
He gonna be a star, and I was like, oh, that's my boy. When I saw the Star Wars trailer, I was like, I had the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood Leonardo GIF. I was like super excited just to see like that this actor that was in this like movie that I love was like starting to get his recognition. So I already knew he was going to be big because he is a like fantastic actor. But I think it's the fact that like he's so cool and down to earth. So when you sit down and talk to him, like, man, what's up with this Southern accent, bro? Like, I don't know if we should go full. Like, I could talk more country than I've been talking, right? Like, I can get deeper into talking like I'm from Montgomery for real, right? But
I hear
in LA so long, it gets like distilled down and you start throwing hellas in the mix. Suddenly, like, you don't talk as Southern as you normally would if you were surrounded. And I think a lot of that was like understanding that there was no way that he would be able to fully disappear into the most aggressive Southern archetypes, but that he could, you know, if he didn't try to go 100% the countryest person you ever met, that there was something that he could like achieve that I think would be really believable. And he really like just honestly like he came to Atlanta and he was everywhere. Like, you know what I'm saying? He was hanging out with my friends, like, and so I think just the fact that he kind of threw himself into just being a Southerner, and we were, you know, this was during COVID, so we were like sequestered. So think a lot of osmosis of just hanging around Southern people
Mm-hmm.
that like before we actually started shooting that, like that mixed with a little bit of restraint in the performance. Like again, like I think we were like, don't be the most Southern guy we've ever met. You know what I'm saying? That's gonna be uh, much harder to accomplish. But you can be from the South. Like everybody from the South doesn't talk like they have the country's accent.
For sure.
And plus, we have a little bit of leeway because we don't actually know where they are. Right? They maybe in Alabama, they may be in Georgia, maybe in Tennessee. Like
I thought it
they
was
don't really
Tennessee.
know what
Yeah.
state they're in. And so you also have a little bit of ambiguity in the region. So the dialect doesn't have to be. No one from Atlanta could be like, that's not an Atlanta accent. Like, you don't even know if he's in a, like that. Because the dialects obviously have little nuances between the states, but I think being able to kind of immerse himself, like just in the culture in general, and being around people and being so open and like willing to, uh, you know, willing to just go get barbecue with us and just, things that like kind of are extracurricular to an extent, but like he treated it as mandatory, and so.
So y'all gave him high blood pressure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
He came in there, his shit was regular, but now he been around y'all for so long. That's crazy, man. That's crazy y'all did that to Finn.
Sweet tea, for
sure. We talked about how the movie makes you think, it makes you question certain things. One thing that just blew me away was how funny the movie is. I mean, Tiana and Jamie together were the comedic duo that I never thought I needed, and I want to see more of them together. David Alan Grier as the pastor, and my goodness. And when I saw that, I like screamed. I was like, oh, it's David Alan Grier. Can you talk a little bit about, like how... I don't know how it all came together. The casting was so perfect, just working with everyone. Can you touch a little bit on that?
Yeah, I mean, casting took like almost 2 years to cast. Really? There were a lot of snafus in the casting process. A lot of just difficulty arranging schedules. I mean, that turned out to be like the bane of their existence. It's like people's schedules not lining up. But like, I think we were super lucky, just to be able to have anybody interested in the script, right? By the time we'd written the script, and we set it up without the script, and we wrote the script, and we're lucky to have interest, from some people who were like way too talented. Like I would not have been if I were these actors, because I would not have trusted myself at all. Like I'm just like a random dude out of film school. Me and Tony, don't nobody know who we are. We just got a script,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like all these actors who like gravitated towards it for whatever reason. And so it really was like an embarrassment of riches, you know what I'm saying? So like once we had Jamie and Tiana and John, I think they were kind of a magnet for Kiefer Sutherland's, David Alan Grier's. Like they were attracted because we had Jamie Foxx, because we had John Boyega, because we had Tiana Ferris. And their chemistry was just, honestly, it was out the box kind of chemistry, right? Like it was very natural, because I think everybody got along so well offset. Everybody just like, crack jokes like that just in the trailer, you know what I'm saying? So I think that translated in a way that was unpredictable, but I was like, thank God, because you might write a line and it might just be an interstitial line just to get you from point A to point B, and then they perform it. And like, there's a lot of lines that, you see it on the screen and the audience laughs and you're like, okay, that's like, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't written necessarily like with the expectation of someone laughing, but they're so comedically talented. They have such good timing, they have such good chemistry that, you get surprised. I mean, Eric Robinson, Jay Alphonse, like they are like stupidly funny, to the point where while we were shooting, we started adding stuff. Like, oh, I did not know he was this funny. okay, we need more, like, we need more Isaac. We need more Big Boss. You know what I'm saying? Because they were so funny and they had like such good chemistry with John that you find yourself trying to give everybody more screen. Like Tamara Perry played Biddy. Like she crazy good. We added a scene for her. And I think a lot of that just came down to nothing that I could take credit for, you know what I'm saying? That's all. They came and set like that, you know what I'm saying? So I just sat back like everybody else and tried not to mess it up.
Before the movie came out, obviously, everyone knows that Jamie Foxx, who is one of the leads of the film, had a really, really scary health issue. And I think the culture was holding its breath, hoping and wishing that Jamie was going to be okay. And, as luck and fortune would have it, he was up and around just around the time that this movie was getting ready to come out. It's like literally like a week, the week, or a couple of weeks before you start to see that Jamie is okay. But for a long time, nobody knew, and the only thing that was really out there were rumors. What was it like for you guys in the lead up to the film, trying to get the movie out there, but also I'm sure having mixed emotions and just emotions, period, about Jamie's health, how well he was, and how much he was going to be able to be a part of the rollout of the film?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we really, when he was like, oh, James in the hospital, everybody was like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
So the rollout of the film was definitely way in the back burner, especially like in the beginning, like people are posting and you're like, wait, what? Like, you don't know what to believe because like I know Jamie, but it's not like I just talk to Jamie on a daily basis, right? And we shot the movie in like 2019, 2020. 2020, 2021, right? We've been shot this movie like years ago, like, in terms of when Jamie filmed. So it's you don't want to be, I'm sure like a million people call him. So it's like, I don't want to like blow his phone up, you know what I'm saying? I try to call him. And so like, you really like, those first, couple of days, you consuming the same media that everybody else is consuming, right? Like people are posting on all kind of theories on Instagram and like people saying they saw him. And so like, that was like super worrying because really I had no idea what was going on. So I'd actually just sent to Tari a text message like, hey, just let Jamie know, that we love him, you know what I'm saying? And he had texted back like he's in good spirits. So I was like, all right, I'm going to just leave him alone, you know what I'm saying? So I think, just in keeping in touch with Tari, who's one of our producers, Tari Turner, he kind of let us know like that he was doing okay. So we knew that like it wasn't as dire as some people made it out to be, you know what I'm saying? And so I think we were able to, I talked to him for like 5 minutes, like maybe like a month ago, whenever that was.
That's awesome.
And he sounded like himself, like he sounded like I talked to him for legit, like not a long time. Right. Me and John Boyega both talked to him, right? And he sounded like himself, and he was just like, I'm proud of y'all, you know what I'm saying? I'm just glad everything is good, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, I never, we never put no pressure on him to come, marketing or like, we need you to make a post about Tyrone. Like, anything he posts about Tyrone is like his own volition.
Right. I got one more question for you before you go. I know you got to go.
Oh no,
I'm pitching a movie to you real quick.
Okay.
I do this all the time on the show. I got a pitch for you. Okay. The movie is called They Clone Travis.
Okay, for sure.
It's a white version of They Clone Tyrone. You have to cast this right now. I need Slick. I need Fontaine. I need the Tiana Paris character. I need just cast it real quick. They Cloned Travis is the movie. You have to go. you have to leave right now. So you have literally 30 seconds, maybe a minute to cast They Cloned Travis is the name of the movie. Go for it.
I think Travis is Timothy Chalamet.
Okay. All right.
Timothy Chalamet is Travis for real. Why? I put it in my gut. Slick Charles, we gonna pull Jim Carrey back in the comedic bag.
Oh, okay. I'm liking this. Another In Living Color alumnus right there.
So for sure, we gonna pull Jim Carrey back in the comedic bag. We gotta bring them eyeballs. So we gotta cast Margot Robbie.
I was thinking that
as Yo-Yo, you know what I'm saying? Gotta bring them eyeballs. Let's see. For the preacher, we got to go Walton Goggins.
I like that.
I love Walton Goggins.
And he's right now. Have you watching I'm a Virgo?
I haven't seen. I haven't seen it yet. I plan to watch it in a binge session. I edited some of those episodes, half those episodes. So Sarah Hayes cut Tyrone. She cut half the episode of I'm a Virgo. So I want to be able to sit down and binge watch it.
Right. That's it. You got it.
I want to see it.
They Clone Travis. I'm telling you, what's gonna happen now? What's gonna happen now is they're gonna come to you and they're gonna be like, hey, you and Charles King, Stephen Dr. Love, they're gonna be like, hey, we want to do They Clone Travis, bro. Telling you.
Just tell Timothy people to hit my people type shit.
You guys, that is someone who, I'm not gonna bullshit you. I think the guy's a genius. I'm sorry to say that in front of you, bro. It's tough. Yeah, I think the guy's a genius. That's Juel Taylor. Thank you for joining us on Higher Learning, man. We love the movie. I'll probably spend it 5 or 10 more times just to let you know, bro. It's a great film.
I want to feel all slippery with the questions and shit. I'm trying to be slippery.
You're great. You're great. I'm gonna go get some fried chicken after this and listen to some more of the music, some of the mind control music, bro.
And some grape juice.
Some grape drink. We appreciate you joining us on Higher Learning, bro.
Yes, thank you.
Hey, John, thank you.
There's other stuff that real quick before we go. Rachel, there's a Twitter account, Call to Activism, posted a quote and a picture of a white grandfather with his mixed race granddaughter. And it said, my dad didn't approve when I married a dark-skinned man. He's some kind of racist hillbilly. When I was pregnant, he told me he didn't want anything to do with my biracial daughter. Here he is painting her toenails on her 3rd birthday. Here's proof people can change. This tweet has been getting called out by people who don't like the fact that this exists. Do you have a problem with this tweet at all?
Yeah, she clearly doesn't understand racism, the mother who posted this.
How so?
Well, the fact that you're calling your dad a racist hillbilly, which who knows what all he said about the fact that you were with a black man and the fact that you were going to have a child with him. That is some deep-rooted racism. This man is much older in age. The fact that he's painting your granddaughter's toes means that he likes your granddaughter. It doesn't mean that he has changed his entire opinion on black people. He likes his granddaughter. That's all I see from it. And just because he's painting her toes doesn't mean he's probably calling in his head that her a little nigger at the same time. You don't think he could still be racist as fuck and still be painting her toenails. So the fact that you're using that as an example to show that this is how people can change, I'm gonna need a lot more than from Granddaddy to know that he's changed his ideas on black people more than him painting his biracial granddaughter's toes.
What would you need from Granddaddy?
Well, I need him to tell me how he's changed. It's not if he's changed, tell me how. You tolerating your granddaughter by painting her toes does not show me that you're not racist anymore.
Okay, so I'm dispassionate about this picture and everything.
I'm not passionate about it.
I know, but I'm saying the painting of the toenails doesn't at least indicate in some kind of way that he loves and fucks with his granddaughter. You don't think so?
I know somebody who we went to school together, and I remember this white boy liked me in school, and she told me, we were in elementary, and she told me that the Bible, I think I've said this on the podcast before, that the Bible says that dark and light people are not supposed to mix.
Mm.
And,
You didn't take that advice.
And neither did she. Because she went on to date black men and now has 3 children by a black man.
Okay. She changed.
And she told me that her parents were the ones who told her that dark and light are not supposed to mix.
Mm-hmm.
So that's letting you know what her parents think. Her parents love those grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think her parents still have issues with black people in general? Absolutely.
Why?
They love their grandchildren because their daughter
They love
and
those
I see
people.
the way that they treat the father of that child. They do
Which
not
is
like
not
him.
well.
They do not like him. They do not have any kind of relationship with him. And there's other issues that have gone on. So it's more than just him being black, but they certainly have certain issues about him and feel a certain way, but they love the children because they look at the children as innocent. The children didn't choose who their father was, but they look, I'm serious. That's why I look at this picture and I'm like, I'm trying not to say the girl's name. It just reminds me of that family.
So, I mean, that's a fantastic point. Just because you love the people that are coming out of your body and your loins doesn't mean that you love black people.
Right.
Doesn't mean
those are their great. Yeah, their daughter had these kids, these innocent children, and they love their grandchildren. They really do.
Can I say something else? I don't really find it cause for concern when like white people get over racism. I mean, cause for celebration when white people get over racism. When white people get over racism and reform themselves from being racist, or anyone gets over any ism, I don't really. You know what? It's fine. Look at what can happen. People cannot be racist. I don't get the warm and fuzzies.
Well, this woman does not understand racism. Here's a picture of my granddad painting her toes. Proof people can change. He's tolerating the little nigger.
All right. They can. All right. Take your thinking caps off, but do not stop learning. I am Van Lathan Jr.
I'm Rachel Lynn Lindsay. Bye, guys.